So that video you just watched was a really good example of how I've utilized whole class grounding in my classroom. Um, and I really believe it is a proactive classroom management strategy. This is an exchange of time. So what I like to do is separate it as like, this is your time um, versus when you're focused on math and reading, that's for me. So I gave the opportunities for time to calm yourself, to be present, but also sensory needs. So I did have things like water timers available, Play-Doh. It's tough nowadays because fidgets are now toys. So that's something you need to explicitly explain to your students is those million little pop-it things that everyone's walking around with. That is not a fidget. We're not going to call them those. That's why at this point I call them sensory tools. The kids, then I explain the five senses, and the little kids seem to understand it. So I'm sure the big ones will as well. But I like to give that exchange of time. So this is your time that you get to squish the Play-Doh and you get to take a deep breathing. We're gonna listen to calming music, or and you can color, and it's just 5 minutes of our day. But in exchange for that, after this, when we jump into math and number corner, I need your brain fully with me. Does that sound fair? And I always use that term with kids. Does that sound fair? And they always agree. But I think it just helps them feel validated and feel a part of the process, a part of their own learning. And so I call it an exchange of time. I'm giving you this time to, build your Legos or do things like that. It's only 5 minutes, but after this, you have to come through for me and try your best during reading. So it is a little negotiating, but it helps kids feel part of their learning process, and it does help for a happy classroom. This time is time to focus versus time to think about what your brain and body needs. I love how mindfulness and these calming breaks can be naturally intertwined throughout their day. Stamina is a huge issue nowadays in our classroom. I saw it last year when I was a classroom teacher with 36 kids in the library, and I see it this year as I'm meeting with kindergartners, first graders, second graders. Granted, they always kind of have stamina issues, but I know it's exasperated because of the pandemic. So I think a big thing is to acknowledge that kids are asked to do a lot throughout the day, and these tools of mindfulness can help them and support them. And that's why we're doing it, telling them that purpose. As I said before, I'm a big believer that this is not a consequence. These are some of my students in the library. We read a story about mindfulness as I'm teaching them about it. I wanted to give them that sensory time to explore. I think it's really important you kindly ask a student to regulate themselves. And during that time, you can regulate yourself too, right? Like, we need a break right now because I feel things building. You never want to get into that power struggle. So say, why don't you take a moment, and I'm going to give you some space before we talk. You can say that to a student, and you can tell them, like, you can let me know you're ready for me to talk to you about whatever happened when I see you, put away the calming things back into the bucket, or when I see you give me a thumbs up, or when I see you put your notebook away and have your hands on your desk. Whatever that signal will be, students will be able to understand that, and that will give you both a chance to regulate yourself in a classroom with whatever tools you want to pull out, whether it's guided grounding or the water timers or Play-Doh. Once you put the Play-Doh back into the container and close the container, I'll know you're ready to talk. But we have to talk before this time. So obviously they don't take forever. But I really think it's important to make it clear to students that this is your time to calm down and this is my time to calm down as well. Here are some whole class calming activities that are in the slide deck that you can click through. Ocean breathing, rainbow meditation. You go through all the colors of the rainbow. The kids really love this one. Fourth graders, big kids. Body scan meditation for students. I've done this with kids as young as kindergarten to kids to fourth grade, and they love it. Star breathing. So this is something you can print out. You hold your breath at the top. As you go down the star, you breathe out. As you go up the star, you breathe in. Here's a good example of a quick grounding exercise. And you can just copy these right off my slides and put them into, your lesson plans or print these. 3-minute body scan meditation. Pick a color. This is a fun one for the little ones. Think of your favorite color and look around the room and see how many things you can find. And kids get really excited. They want to tell you right away, but I always tell them in your head, And then at the end, we share some things we saw. Leaf breathing. This one's a tough one for the big kids. I used to as fourth graders. Count backwards by 7, starting at 100. You know, this is, I tell the kids, we do this sometimes. I tell them you should do this when you're trying to fall asleep because it's really going to help you. Because it takes a lot of concentration, but it's also mindful, you know, mindless almost. Lazy 8 breathing. This is a really great visual. I, you know, without even prompting, my little kids this year are going like this when we do something like this because the motion makes sense to them and they appreciate that moment to breathe. This is another color one. Flower breathing, flower and leaf breathing. This is a great video about why we meditate, and this could be shown to the bigger kids of the purpose of it, and you can also watch it on your own time in my slides. So I mentioned I'm a library teacher and a interventionist. I'm sorry, not a resource teacher. I'm an interventionist. So I teach kindergarten, first and second grade library, and then the rest of my time is spent during interventions. So I pull groups. But every time any of those classes come into the library, we always start off with a calming activity because I want to set the tone for how students feel in the library. I want them to feel calm. I want them to feel comfortable. I want it to be a really regulated place for them that they get to go twice a week. So I have started that off by reading some text, introducing mindfulness. We practice it every class, no matter what. That's how we start off class. It sets a really good routine for the kids. They come in, we regulate ourselves, and we start the activity. I have also incorporated calming centers, which I'll speak to a little later in my library for these young students. And they are constantly asking me, can we do calming centers today? When is the next time we're doing calming centers? They love it. And I really believe that SEL and good behavior management should be incorporated in our specials because I'm going to have these kids from kindergarten to 6th grade, hopefully. And I need to make sure I maintain good relationships with them. They have positive feelings about the space. They have positive feelings about the library and the special in our school. And so I really believe this is something that if we incorporated throughout their day in multiple specials, it can really help set them up for success. So here you can see students doing yoga in the library, students doing calm coloring. It's a really special time. I also incorporate holiday crafts. So we did warming our hearts. So it was a little gratefulness exercise. And we thought of things that warm our hearts and we're grateful for in the library. We made these crafts, and these are second graders, and they really didn't just write like food, water, shelter. They wrote very thoughtful things that they appreciate about the people in their lives. And you can tell the kids line up and their teacher picks them out and they're silent. They're feeling so good about themselves and so good about school. It's really cool to watch and see from a different lens rather than just being a classroom teacher. Not just a classroom teacher, you guys do so much. Just having, both perspectives is seeing all the grade levels and seeing if I can incorporate it with all the kids. So here's some things I've done in the library. These are some great books. If you're kind of nervous about starting this off in your classroom, I highly recommend checking out these books from, your school library. I doubt they'll have them, but you could try, or your public library, asking your librarian to get them for you, because it's a really nice way to open up conversation about mindfulness in a low pressure way for you as a teacher, because it's all guided and the kids just naturally buy into it. It's a great way to just kick off mindfulness in your classroom. I also have one of these breathing balls that the kids just love. It's a great visual for young students. It's one of the balls that expands when you breathe, and I have a video showing how it works with the little kids, and they love it.